What's up, everyone? Sam here from byte.com, and in this video I'm going to talk about why learning new skills really sucks, and I'm going to show you 5 specific strategies to make it a whole lot easier. And if you want tons more videos just like this, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe. We're releasing new videos every week. Alright, so the reason that learning a new skill is so hard can be summed up in one single image. This graphic shows why learning a new skill is so difficult. Basically what this is showing is it's showing the trajectory of learning something, which rather than being a nice linear path where you're continually making progress, we basically have a series of plateaus punctuated by sharp bursts of learning. And what happens is people are going through the process of learning a new skill. Initially, maybe they're making a lot of progress, but then they hit a plateau. And those plateaus can last for a long time. So if you don't have the momentum, if you don't have the excitement to push through those plateaus, you're never going to make it in the long run. You're never going to really learn that skill deeply. And so what I want to show you in this video is I want to give you 5 specific strategies to make sure that you're able to push through those plateaus and ultimately come out successful on the other side. So strategy number 1, we actually talked about in a video a couple weeks ago, and I'll link to that in the cards, but that is that we want to pick a single roadmap and we want to stick to it. Because here's the thing, is we know that there are going to be plateaus along the way, right? We know that things are going to get hard at different times, and so one of the worst things that we can do to deal with those plateaus is to question what we are doing as we are doing it. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is that they start going down a certain path, and then all of a sudden when they hit that plateau, they start questioning what they're doing. They start questioning, is this the right way to make progress? And then rather than persisting through that plateau, they're actually taking a step backwards. So one of the most important things that you can do is to do the research ahead of time. Understand what is a roadmap that has a good chance of working. Is there a course that you can follow that has really good reviews and lots of success? Is there a book that you can follow that lots of people have used and have told you help them to learn this skill? And if you find something that you are willing to put your trust in, then you have to actually trust it 100%. Follow that, follow the process even when you hit those plateaus, because you realize that this is built into the process. This is something that you expect to happen, and you're going to come out on the other side as long as you continue pushing forward. A great example of this that I was hearing the other day was someone was talking about building a YouTube channel. And they were saying, like, what if you set a goal to build up lots and lots of subscribers on your YouTube channel? And so you said, I'm going to film a video every day for 6 months. I'm going to film a video, I'm going to upload a video every day for 6 months, and that's how I'm going to grow an audience. I've seen lots of other people do it. I've seen that this works, so now I just need to do it. That's all well and good, but what happens if you get a week in, 2 weeks in, and you're like, shoot, I don't have any views yet. I'm not making the progress that I want to make. So I'm going to completely change my strategy. Right? That's where people run into trouble. Rather than just sticking with the path, they start to second guess themselves. And yes, maybe if you get to like 3 months in and you're seeing 0 traction, then you want to change things up, but you have to give things a fair chance to actually push through those plateaus, to actually make that progress. And I encourage you to pick one resource, pick one recipe as I call it, and stick to that recipe. Strategy number 2 that I highly recommend is to get the setup out of the way first. This is something that I was talking about with a student of mine the other day, where he was basically saying, hey, I get really excited about this project, but then because of all of the real technical nitty gritty and all the stuff that I need to figure out to get up and running, I basically lose interest in the project before I even get to the point of getting to do anything interesting. And this is totally valid, right? Because especially when we're talking about tech, like let's say that you wanted to build an Android app, you have to learn how to set up that app. You have to get your phone hooked up to the computer. You have to figure out how to actually get everything running appropriately. And this can be a bit time consuming, especially if you're intermixing it with everything else. And so what I encourage you to do is basically set aside 2 or 3 hours before you actually start the learning process to do the setup. And what you want to do is you want to kind of dissociate this in your mind from learning the thing. Say, I'm just going to sit down, this is going to be annoying, I'm going to hate this, but I'm just going to crank it out and then it's going to be done. Because what that allows you to do is then when you actually go and start working on learning the skill, you can immediately start making good progress. Because you've already done all of the annoying stuff, you've gotten that out of the way to begin with, and you can start getting into doing something interesting. You can start getting into writing an app that's going to draw something on the screen. You can start using location services, whatever it is, if we continue with this Android example, you can start doing the things that are actually going to be interesting rather than all the miscellaneous stuff. It's like if you were learning a new skill, you wouldn't start with writing, lots of integration tests. Or you probably wouldn't do any sort of test-driven development because that is going to be boring as hell. That's good once you're further along and when you're trying to build software, that can be effective. But if you're just trying to learn something new, it's not exciting to write a lot of tests, right? You want to sort of try and get right into the meat of it as quickly as you can. And so by doing the setup ahead of time, that's going to allow you to get straight into the meat of things and get straight into the part that's more exciting. Strategy number 3 is to actually learn something that you are excited about. And this is may not always be easy because sometimes there are cases where it's like, oh, I need to learn this thing for work, or oh, I need to learn that thing for work. But if you're trying to decide between different things to learn, picking something that you are actually excited about is going to make it much easier for you to push through those plateaus. And I want to give you sort of an example of this that is not coding related, but I think it's going to help put this in context. And that is that my wife and I went on our honeymoon to Hawaii last year. And we decided to take a surfing lesson. And I'd never been surfing before. I'd been like boogie boarding at the Jersey Shore, but that was about it. And so I was absolutely terrible at this surfing, right? I barely could stand up on the board. I managed to catch a couple waves, but then as soon as I got halfway up, I'd completely fall off the board. But the thing is, and the thing that really worked for me there is that I was having fun even though I was doing terribly, right? Even though I was really bad at this, I was enjoying what I was doing enough that I wanted to keep doing it. And so even though it was hard, even when it sucked, I still wanted to keep going. And this is what you want to try and identify when you are learning a new skill. Again, you may not have the choice, right? You may not be able to choose between lots of different things because it may be like, oh, well, I'm starting this job and so I need to learn the skills associated with that job. But in so much as you do have options, can you choose the things that you're going to be most excited in to help you push through those plateaus? And secondly, is there a way that you can shift the way that you're looking at something to get excited about it? Right? Sometimes when we're not excited about something, it's actually more of the way that we're viewing it. It's more of our mindset than it is actually the thing itself. It's like, can you identify things about this that are exciting to you? Maybe the whole thing isn't super interesting, but maybe you can find one piece of the puzzle that's really exciting to you. So like maybe you're learning some front-end framework. And so you don't really like front-end development or you're not really excited about doing that, but maybe you can find some project that you could do with this front-end framework that would make you excited. Maybe you can find ways that it integrates with something else that you do that are interesting to you that you didn't even realize. And so you can learn something and get excited about it even when it's not the most thrilling project in the world. It's really a mindset shift, but if you can shift that mindset and find that excitement, it doesn't have to be your favorite thing in the world. As you get better at things, you tend to enjoy them more. But you want to have at least that nugget, that kernel of excitement at the beginning that's going to help you keep pushing when things get difficult. Strategy number 4 that can make things a lot more exciting is to have a clear end result in mind. And this is something that is also really important because if you know what you are working towards, then it gives you a clear path that you're going to keep pushing through the plateaus. Because you're going to keep pushing and you're going to say, okay, well, I know that I want to get to this point, and so I need to continue pushing through the plateau that I'm experiencing right now. I need to keep pushing forward to get to that result. And that result is exciting. You can build excitement around achieving the result that you're trying to get to. So I'd highly encourage you, as you're thinking about a project, is there something specific you can build? This is why I love project-based learning. Right? If you do project-based learning, then really you're learning something for the purposes of creating some sort of project. If you were doing Android development, you would be learning Android development for the purpose of creating some specific app. And if you don't have something like that, is there something that you could come up with that would make it more exciting for you? What this also does is it allows you to scope down and it allows you to say, okay, well, I can ignore all of these other things that are part of the language that I'm learning or part of the tool that I'm learning, but are not relevant to what I'm doing right now. So maybe if I'm trying to learn Android development, maybe I want to learn how to, use location services because I want to make something that will drop a pin on the map for me, but I don't need to be able to do any sort of fancy UI stuff. Because I'll do a really simple UI, I just want to collect the data. And that allows me to be more focused and say, okay, well, I can focus my limited effort, my limited energy on understanding the location services deeply rather than understanding how to do custom UIs, rather than understanding how to do all this complicated XML. Right? And so by having that clear end result in mind and being able to scope things, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to push through. And finally, strategy number 5 is to realize that plateaus are part of the process. And I think a big reason why this stands in so many people's way is that they simply don't realize or aren't expecting that they're going to hit a plateau. We like to think of everything in our life as being super linear, right? We want to see our input result in a direct output. We want to see that continual progress. But the reality is that things just aren't that way. And so if you expect that and then don't get that, it makes it really difficult to want to keep pushing forward. It makes it easy to feel like you're doing something wrong. And so in reality, the people who are most successful, the people who are going to see that long-term success are the ones who have the most endurance to push through the plateaus. The ones who have the most endurance to push through and say, okay, well, I don't feel like I'm making progress, but I know that I'm grinding away at this plateau and eventually I'm going to come out the other side. There's a great book on this by Seth Godin called The Dip, which he literally talks about this when you're building a business. It's constantly like you have to be prepared if you're going to learn something new to push through that low point, to push through to the other side, because if you don't, you're not going to see those long-term results. So I would highly encourage you, as you're learning a new skill, understand that plateaus are a normal part of the process, and it's not that you're doing something wrong, it's just that things are going to slow down for a bit, and if you keep going, eventually they will pick up again. And with that, that's all I got for you. Hopefully you can take some of these strategies to go and improve your learning process and push through those plateaus so that you'll be much more effective in your career. And if you want more videos just like this, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you back here every week with new videos.